Hey, you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor, the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh and Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned. My friends are going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Happy Wednesday, all, and we are now on The Dorkening. I had to think for a second because this has been a long day. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard, Leo, and with us, as always, actually, we had not as always because you're back, James.
I am back.
You got
I
a little
have returned.
Is that a porg on your shoulder?
That would be my friend, my porg buddy. I brought him home with me from my trip.
Don't tell me you went where I think you went.
I don't know. Did I?
Oh, so awesome. So awesome.
I have other treats and gifts from my travels.
Very cool. Can't wait to see him. Steven, you're with us as well. How's it going?
Hello, everyone.
No porg on your shoulder?
No.
They did have a Baby Yoda.
A different one?
The same thing goes on your shoulder.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Nope.
Oh, jeez. And we have a very, very special guest, Powers Brandon, powerful Brandon.
Hey.
People may know you from the Powers Combined group as well.
Yeah, more than likely. Otherwise, they just might know me as the fat guy who comes in to buy a Three Musketeers in the store at 12 midnight every day.
12 midnight? What are you doing at? You work like the late shift or?
Insomnia and trying my best to induce diabetes. So, so far, the plan is working perfectly.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, so awesome stuff coming out this last week. It's been insane. We saw the first 7 minutes of Mortal Kombat.
You
Very
guys
cool.
have. I have not. I am
The
waiting. I am
three of us saw the first 7 minutes of Mortal Kombat.
It's that Sesame Street, like one of these things is not like the other. No, because I am waiting because I can wait till Friday to see the movie, and I want to see it in its entirety. Like I said, I understand like why they did it, but it feels like this movie didn't need any additional hype. Like you didn't need to drop the first 7 minutes of the movie, and like I said, and it was like, oh no, it's stupid, someone spoiled. I'm like, no, like HBO made a conscious, Warner Brothers made a conscious decision to do this, and I'm sitting there like. And like I've read reviews of the 7 minutes. I've seen in the chat. It's like it's awesome. It definitely is encompassing of what the game is and what this movie has the capability of being. And then even more coming out that this is the first and hopefully like 3 movies. Because it's not a movie franchise unless there's 3 of them.
They tried that in the 90s, and that's how that turned out. But you know what? I agree with you, James, because I would have been perfectly fine if they didn't release the first 7 minutes, but it's Hollywood. They can do whatever they want. But either way, 7 minutes, no 7 minutes. I'm really looking forward to seeing this. Patrick had his excitement with Kong versus Godzilla. This is my excitement for this. I'm really excited for Mortal Kombat.
That's very fair. I myself, it was sort of a take it or leave it with the 7 minutes as well. I actually had mentioned to my wife, who I will refer to as Dara, the tiny German. She was sitting next to me when I saw it on HBO Max. I was like, 7 minutes? Doesn't it come out on Friday? I could just wait, right? I don't need that. But I did watch it specifically so we could talk about it at however much length we want to. But the reason I think that they did it, just looking at it from a business perspective, in lieu of having a large marketing campaign and the fact that it's not going to be coming out in theaters per se. I mean, yeah, we know, but that's not really going to be how the masses see this movie altogether. To put 7 minutes on HBO Max and then have it released through YouTube and other such things, I think they were doing their best to create awareness for people who just aren't necessarily in that same geek sphere as most of us. I don't think that 7 minutes was for me or any of you guys. That was for someone who literally had no friggin' idea that there was a Mortal Kombat movie about to come out. I think that's it. And with that being the case, it was the right move for them to make.
Well, when they say Mortal Kombat, you could think, oh, it's the cheesy movies from, like Steven said, the 90s, and it's, even in the 90s, they had also the cheesy Street Fighter movie as well. Lady J is asking, question for all. What was your favorite character to play in Mortal Kombat? James? Raiden, Steven?
Yeah, because I use I kind of cheat with him because the one move with him just flying across the screen, going Santa Monica, or whatever he says in Japanese, just flying across the screen. I kind of cheat with him, but if I wasn't cheating with him, I'd use Scorpion.
Yeah. James, did you play Mortal Kombat?
I did. I was a reptile. I played reptile.
No. Nice.
With the bubble.
I actually split it between either Raiden or Johnny Cage. The shadow kick was my jam.
Yeah.
The acid bubble, acid spit were the 2 things I like doing. Like it was awesome.
Lady J's, her character was Sub-Zero. I didn't play that much Mortal Kombat. I was more, at the time, I was a Street Fighter guy, but then I switched over to Tekken. Tekken was, that was my jam. Yeah. It's, Mortal Kombat, I mean, it's, I was working retail at the time, and I didn't really have too much time to play, so it was, Jeremy says, you guys ever watched a live-action internet series? I didn't finish it.
I did. I actually was going to bring it up because that 7 minutes made me revisit the episodes Sub-Zero and Scorpion Part 1 and Part 2. Mostly because as I was watching that 7 minutes, I honestly, it had been, I don't know, 11 years or something since it came
Been a
out.
while.
Yeah, and just watching that 7 minutes, I was just like, did they do this in that series? It feels like they did, and it's very similar. I mean, just kind of following the same beats of the story, where it's like, Sub-Zero showed up and killed Scorpion's like family, and that's where part of why they're always like an eternal whatever. But I think I kind of just superimposed what I was watching because there were slight differences. The movie was done better. I think Kevin Tancherone, who was the director and showrunner for Mortal Kombat Legacy, I believe is what it was called, he did the best he could with what he had, considering it was basically a decently budgeted fan film at that point. But yeah, it's that series, especially the first season, is incredible. And if you haven't seen any of it, I recommend, if you're gonna watch just one episode, I would say seek out the episode about Raiden. It is very dark, very twisted, and it's absolutely phenomenal. It's not what you would necessarily expect from a Mortal Kombat story, but beautiful.
Is that on HBO?
No, that is on YouTube. You could easily find that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the whole 2 seasons is something you can find very, very easily. And I know because I found them earlier today. And yeah, you can go through and you can actually even find the original like 10-minute short that Kevin Tancherone had done, that actually kind of like reframes Mortal Kombat into more of an inner city, like urban thing. That Shang Tsung is like this crime kingpin, and this is some kind of crazy ass tournament that he's brought like the world's worst serial killers and such together to fight one another. It's interesting.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say one thing about the 7-minute clip. Hiroyuki Sanada, the guy who was playing the main character in the clip, it's great to see him get like a big role, because usually he has like very minimal roles. From Shengen, he played Shengen in Wolverine, and he was Kenji in Rush Hour 3. So very minimal roles, but it's good to see him get like a big role. So good for him.
Yeah, I think in America, at least, one of the last big things that we saw him in was he was the guy, the criminal that Hawkeye, or Ronin, was killing in Japan at the beginning of Endgame.
Yeah. Yep.
Jeremy Courtney's in chat, says the Street Fighter animated movie was pretty dope, though, Lady J. She also said that the movie sucked. And what sucked even worse was the video game based off of the movie. So you had, I don't know, what's that, Inception? Why is video game?
I think the thing that sucked most about that movie is that it was unfortunately Raul Julia's last movie.
Yeah.
That's probably the worst thing about it.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I liked about the first 7 minutes, and I can't wait to watch the full thing on Friday, but we're gonna have so much to watch on Friday. His tattoo glowed when the other guy, Sub-Zero, came close, and that reminded me a little bit of like Highlander. It's just yeah.
Yep.
I didn't even make that connection, and I should have. Good call, man. I love that shit.
Yeah, Highlander. Man. Yeah, I loved Highlander. So this Friday we're also going to be getting the last episode of Falcon and Bucky.
Falcon Bucky show, baby.
Yeah, James, we missed you for the last couple weeks. What did you? I'm assuming you're all caught up.
Yep, I watched the last episode last night, or the latest episode last night. Up until, I have to say, episode 4, I wasn't sold on it. I really wasn't. Because even in my head, I was very much trying to separate like what WandaVision was and what this is going to be, and even what like Hawkeye is going to be. It's just going to be completely different. But I remember watching the episode prior to last Friday's one, and I remember I looked at Jen and I was like, now you have my attention. Like now it took you 4 episodes, but now you have my attention. And then this one definitely this last episode was a lot of character development that, you know, I felt Sam needed, but I felt again, you know, I know they're trying to make this very much a Sam story. But I still, as this is all about the Winter Soldier and Stan, Sebastian Stan is just killing it. So for me, it's very much, I get what they're doing. Like I see what they're doing with the character. You know, the whole Bradley arc coming back last episode and kind of telling the rest of that story that scene was unbelievable. You know, the fight scene at the beginning of the episode was awesome. John Walker, I mean, I don't think they could have cast. You know, the one thing Marvel's been unbelievably good at has been casting. Like their casting directors and scouts have been very, very much on point. You know, he's been awesome, but you definitely see why they held out on this release as long as they did, because they've already said a lot of these, like, so the biggest reveal of all was Julie Louis-Dreyfus' character. That was like the huge reveal. She's in Black Widow. You were supposed to see her in Black Widow to understand who she is.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
That is why they pushed the show past that May 9th or whatever, that March 9th, when they were supposed to, when one of the 18 re-release dates. That's where they flipped WandaVision to early. Like they did a lot of things because the events of Black Widow foreshadow and line up very well with what's going on with Winter Soldier. I found that out. I was watching something on Nerdist, and that's Nerdist kind of let that know. But you know, like I said, I'm involved. I think the last episode's gonna be really well. I like the time it takes place. You know, a lot of it is very much, you know, who's the Proud Broker, which is really good. And if I'm smart, if I'm Marvel, I'm not telling who you are in this episode. Like, and that's my one concern. Is that they're going to kind of try to wrap up a ton of stuff in this episode, even though I just want an hour-long fight of Sam Wilson, Bucky, U.S. Agent, and the Flag Smashers. Like, that's what I want to see for 45 minutes. Like, give me that. You know, hopefully, you know, I hope they allude to it, but I don't think it's Sharon Carter. Like, that's the bit. No, I don't think it's Sharon Carter at all. I think it's Thunderbolt Ross. That is my vote, just because another huge spoiler. If you don't want to listen to it, 3, 2, 1, Taskmaster and another character in Black Widow are linked to Thunderbolt Ross.
I mean, I knew Taskmaster. Are you being purposely cryptic when you say another character?
Well, because there's a bunch of characters in Black Widow that I don't want to tell which one is which.
Fair enough.
But like it's very much sending up the Thunderbolts with Taskmaster, with this other character, with all this stuff. So, you know, I'm very curious. Like I said, you know, I like the whole Wakanda getting Zemo. I think Baron Zemo is the best villain they have right now. And I like how he's just, even like the dance thing was funny. Like I liked it. I just don't like the way he's like, he sees all angles. Like, you know, he knew like, I'm just going to get out of this room while they fight each other. Like, I'm not even going to, like, I'm going to back away.
It's like he lives his life by Occam's razor. Just like whatever the simplest solution for him is usually the best. And it works because he's right like 99% of the time. He pays more attention.
But also some of the stuff they've been talking about, and some of the dialogue too has been very, very well. Like when Sam is talking to Carrie, I think it's Karen or Carrie, the leader of the Flag Smashers. That whole interaction is it's a very well paced scene.
Carly.
They're both acting, you know, their acting is very on point. You know, and then you have the Isaiah Bradley and Sam interaction, equally as fantastic. And then you have the great conversation between Sam and Bucky and about, you have to stop saying I'm sorry. Like you have to like physically change something in your life, and I thought that was really a very great conversation. And the whole afterwards being like, well, we're only friends because we knew a guy, and if that guy is gone, now we're just guys. Like, and I thought that whole dialogue and their interaction was like very, very honest and very true to the characters. And I'm very curious to see what they do that ended up. I know there's been a lot of rumblings now that they're talking about a second season because it's been very well received and that they can definitely see these characters growing in the MCU. And then the joke is like, well, if that's the case, then you have to change the name of the title. And I was like, that's cool. Like, I wonder where they're going with this. But a lot of the breadcrumbs they've dropped, and I feel like the breadcrumbs they're dropping here is those breadcrumbs are paying off, or we know will pay off compared to the breadcrumbs that was left in WandaVision. Like, I think a lot of those were misdirections to a point to kind of keep you off from like the end result of what was going on. I feel like the breadcrumbs in this show, they're leading to something down the line, especially with Torres being the next Falcon. Like, that is, here are the wings, like, see you soon. Like, stuff like that. Even you had a little bit of that with Rambeau, Monica Rambeau in WandaVision, but this one I feel like I don't need to see them as the superhero. I just know hopefully they'll show up later down the road.
I think I think that what you're saying is like pretty much on point. The only thing is, I honestly think that the purpose altogether for both shows, regardless of how anybody perceives it when they're actually watching it, is to just be a bridge.
It's just moving the story forward.
But that's the thing is, like, I think it's a legitimate concern you have with them maybe trying to like tie a lot of stuff up with the last episode, and you kind of want to see a bit more action and so on and so forth. That's all understandable. But considering what we know of the series themselves that are coming out, that are setting things up, I think it's pretty safe to say that they're not going to just wrap stuff up at the end of this series, because inherently it is there to set up the story that is coming from whatever movies are down the line. I can't say specifically which movies will tie into anything we see, because the thing about the MCU is...
Put your finger down, Leo. Put it down.
No, because I have a great theory.
But like, everything ties so well together. And I actually, for my part, with WandaVision, I think they did very much the same thing that they're doing with Falcon and Winter Soldier. There is a lot of stuff that a lot of people brought with them to the shows, not what the shows were doing. And I know, and Steve, I understand. I'm not bringing it up so people can say like, oh, it must be. But yeah, Mephisto, that shit was hilariously annoying to me. With
Mephisto's in a jacket on top of
Mephisto, everything. But
the of Mephisto thing was just it was they just kept beating the horse after
oh yeah, 100%.
Even Peter showed up. They kept beating the horse, and we knew that we even revealed our predictions, and we were way off the mark, and we didn't even get what we wanted. And we know for a fact there's one episode left. We didn't even know about the Val lady. So I think they pulled out their trump cards, and the 6th episode is just going to be.
And here's where Leo comes in with his theory.
Okay, so hey Tom, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But okay, so first off, shameless plug, go check out Splash Pages, where we covered Truth, Red, White, and Black, the Isaiah Thomas story. And some of the stuff when he's talking about his history, in that story, they were successful with the super soldier serum. Him and several of his friends or army mates did receive it, and it was pretty gruesome because like a lot of them died, like they were popping, it was pretty graphic.
What about one of them that survived the experiment? Remember, he had like a hammerhead shark shaped head, like his whole skull, just like the top of it, just like became like a T shape. It was weird, man. Weird.
Yeah, and so I mean, I hope that they cover more of that storyline or do it, maybe a series down the road. But one theory I read, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but we got the Shang-Chi trailer, trailer this week. And the theory I read was they gave us that this week specifically because the power broker could be
the Mandarin.
Yeah, Mandarin. So,
well, because supposedly this Shang-Chi takes place during the blip.
Well,
that takes place during the events between Infinity War and Endgame.
So your Reddit user that you read it from is wrong, Leo.
No, they could still be the power broker.
That was great.
He the Mandarin's been around for a while, and it wasn't Reddit. No, this was from a
I don't know
YouTuber.
about you guys. I'm just excited to see Ben Kingsley in the MCU again.
Yeah.
Or Guy Pearce.
The real Mandarin.
So they tore apart the trailer, and I guess you can see parts of Madripoor in the Shang-Chi.
Well, they said Madripoor is going to turn into a big.
Yeah.
Now that they have the rights to it.
Yep.
It's definitely become a good, because they didn't have an area like that in the MCU.
A criminal cesspool,
basically, until you get Latvia or wherever Doom is from.
That would not be a criminal cesspool though, because that Doom, Iron Fist.
I loved how one of the rumors I read, or one of the theories, is when it was like they went into Eastern Europe and they said like Sokovia was absorbed by other countries after Ultron, that it turned into Doom's country.
It's gonna be interesting to see if they do that, because I mean, part of Doom's whole thing is like the ancestry.
Yeah, but they've already said, I think Latvia or some like other Eastern Bloc country did absorb Sokovia because there was nothing really left of it after Ultron, and then after the blip, which I still hate calling it that.
That's so awful.
The dustening.
I called it the snappening, but
yeah, snappening is one of them. Great. It was just because the borders were so irregular and stuff like that, but like, I'm just interested. Like I said, it's one of those shows. I wish there was one. Thank you very much, Facebook user. This is the show. I wish there was going to be one more episode. I wish there was going to be 7 episodes. And I remember I said on WandaVision, I wish there was one less of WandaVision. So I think for Marvel, their money zone is about 7 episodes before either you get too much filler, because you got to keep it going at a good pace. And I feel WandaVision had a very good wonky pace, but it didn't really slow down. It did a little bit towards the end of the series. It kind of slowed down a little bit, but like Winter Soldier has been a very good paced show. I feel like it's you're moving from one set piece to another plot point, and you're not really getting bogged down in the slower moments that you have there. The conversations, in these conversations, they're slow, but they're not. It still pushes the story forward at a good pace. So like I give my hats off to the showrunners and the director. I think it's one director the whole time, which I like. I'm like I said, I'm excited to see how the show ends. I told Jen about it. She goes, I don't have to watch it. You kind of just told me everything. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm excited. Like I said, and then there's a little bit of a break, which I'm okay with. I can take a Marvel breather.
We don't really have one, because you can hop on over to Hulu and watch M.O.D.O.K.
Oh, hold on. Before we get to M.O.D.O.K. Sorry. When you're talking about Marvel obtaining the rights for Madripoor, today Marvel isn't the only one obtaining rights for stuff. Now we're going to get the Spider-Man films on Disney Plus. So
Yeah. So I mean, it is still kind of Marvel obtaining rights, but they worked out like a huge deal with Sony, and it's not just Spider-Man, but like Venom and what have you is going to show up, and probably Morbius most likely whenever they decide to release that. So it's very interesting to see how that's going to play out in their relationship with making the films from that point forward too, because obviously they really need to make sure they're on somewhere on the same page if they're going to be using these characters and making stories.
Yeah, wasn't there something in the news this week? Is it the director, or what the hell was his name? Basically, for the first Spider-Man Homecoming, he didn't want any other Avengers. So apparently, I think other than Iron Man, I think Thor was supposed to make an appearance, and somebody else, Captain America. But I think it was the director at the time pulled it, and I think they kind of like put a stop to him this time.
Well, also the agreement was Sony supposedly was that anything that happened in Homecoming or any of the Marvel MCU Spider-Man movies, Sony then could play with. So they wanted to be very limited of how many characters they wanted to put in there they didn't want. So that's why like Morbius supposedly takes place in the MCU, because Michael Keaton's been confirmed. He is the Vulture. You have Scorpion in there as well. It's like I said, it's just setting up the Sinister Six. But you can't, I think, mention it by name, but you can technically now they can have the Avengers Tower in the background, or the Baxter Building, in the background, and do that. So, I think this is just a very long game. I think at one point Disney is going to be like shitting off the pot with Sony. Like, you either going to sell us the rights or we're going to buy it. Like,
they're just going to buy Sony.
They're going to wind up. They're on the road to buying MGM.
Yeah.
So they're going to wind up buying Sony eventually. So
yeah, it's going to be an absolute hellscape.
Give Ghostbusters to a real company. Give it to a real movie company. So
it's so sad to say, because it's always been with them, even when it was the original movie.
Columbia, and then they sold it to
Sony Columbia. I'm saying, like, it's still the same company. It was just absorbed.
It was funny because when I was on vacation, we had to go to the front desk to get something, and so Harrison had his little Ghostbuster zip-up hoodie. So
I get it.
Oh, that's like one of my favorite movies, and I was like, oh, please let the mother company buy the rights, please. And she was laughing pretty hard. She goes, oh, I would love that.
Okay, if they did, could you imagine a Ghostbusters movie where they do a flashback and they de-age the actors to
man, I would love to see how they would de-age Harold Ramis's corpse.
I was gonna say what the skeleton of Harold
Ramis. The fuck? It's a very different Ghostbusters movie. I guess we're fighting zombies this time. No. Zombie's a member of the team.
Yeah, that's Egon. No, I mean,
well, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, I think they would just. Again, I'm putting Afterlife on a shelf right now because no one knows enough about. What's
so are they.
on.
So no worries.
Yeah. I mean, you've literally heard Annie Potts come out recently, Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, all these guys come out being like, your rumors you hearing are correct to a point. Even Bill Murray came out and says, oh yeah, we're in flight suits in the proton packs. Like, they're still heavy as today as they were 30 years ago.
Even Ernie Hudson praised the film. He loved it.
Ernie Hudson praised the film, but Ernie Hudson also praised the 2016 film and then stepped that back pretty quickly after it came out.
So did Bill Murray, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Bill Murray was like, oh, the check cashed. This is a fantastic movie. I liked it. Then like, you want to be in the sequel? The movie wasn't so good, I wouldn't, but again, it's one of those things. Like, if Disney took over, I would love, the real Ghostbusters would be on an actual streaming platform than every Saturday on YouTube, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. But
I think they need to look at some of the things that have actually worked well for that particular franchise over the past 15 to 20 years. And one of the things that has been consistently not just good, but actually excellent is IDW's different series that they've had. They started with Ghostbusters, and then they went to like Ghostbusters International and Ghostbusters 101. But it starts pretty much from after part 2 and continues on. All the characters are drawn to look
in the video games, and
it includes the video games, and they even get to a point where they involve Answer the Call, because they are a different dimension. The guy who writes these books, all these series, is one person. His name is Eric Burnham, and he has the strongest grasp on every one of these characters and this entire world that I've seen since, honestly, the original movie. Like, it's almost like he sat in to figure out the story for 1984.
So Jeff Klein, who's a comic book producer out of Maine, he has his own comic book. He does a lot of the shows around here. Was an executive producer on Extreme Ghostbusters. And so I remember I met him at a convention, and I was talking to him about like Extreme Ghostbusters, and he goes, it was always going to be 40 episodes. There was never an order for more or less. It was always going to be 40 episodes. But he goes, when we started developing the show, when Sony came to us and then Dan Aykroyd came to us and basically gave him like 3 giant 3-ring binders of Ghostbuster canon, from the animated series, from the movies, from original script ideas, from the sequels, all that stuff, to be like, hey, this is where we're at. This is everything we have for your reference, and then kind of build from there. And he even said that it was the daunting information. But the sad part about the IDW for a comic book series is it's been dormant. And
I know
that's not good for comic books.
Well, I mean,
because IDW is focusing
in its defense, though, there has been a lot of stuff over the past year that has not quite been coming out according to the schedule that was initially set for anything. I mean, I've been waiting for a Robert Kirkman series to friggin' end, and it was supposed to be done like a year ago at this point.
Which series?
Outcast.
Oh, Outcast. Yeah, because I saw that he's re-releasing Walking Dead, but like colorized.
Yeah,
it's like Walking Dead Deluxe.
Just put on a pair of tinted sunglasses and reread the comic.
So here we so this is Annie Potts talking today. She goes, I am a part of it. I don't know how much we're supposed to say, but I think it's coming out in November last year. But yes, I'm in it. It's wonderful. Well, because we're revisiting these characters and revisiting each other and all the years in between. It's pretty trippy.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah.
But for me, I just feel like if Disney was helming it, if the mouse was behind it or they bought it, I think they would just like, okay, guys, what do you need to do this right? But also I think they would kind of hopefully steer it back to like, guys, like, I know what you want, but like, this is what the fans kind of want, and kind of pull like a little bit of Star Wars. Like, we're gonna give the fans what they want. And I think you're going to see that a lot in Afterlife, but at the same time, setting up what can go forward. Because don't forget, and then by the way, I have been in contact with one of the executive producers of Ghostbusters Afterlife, and he'll be joining the show sometime in August.
Very cool.
And he's going to talk about the movie, all the marketing, all that stuff. I reached out to him. I've met him in person. I have his phone numbers in my phone book. But we're hopefully gonna, get that. I'm trying to get on the press junket too, to get on the interview circuit for the show and stuff like that.
Very cool.
I'm so happy that we're talking about Ghostbusters. I mean, I just wore this shirt for the fun of it, but like, I'm even wearing a fucking Rays shirt underneath this.
There you go. Did you get the Ghostbuster Incorporated shirt?
No, I don't. Sorry.
So anyway, let's steer the ship all the way back to the beginning.
Well, yeah. So let's see. Tom says, what did he say? Where was it? Amelia Clark, he was asking about. We found out that she's going to be.
I think everybody and their mother is going to be in Secret Invasion. I think that's going to
Yeah.
become a dumping ground for a lot of characters. And I'm just hoping Secret Invasion turns into Secret Wars. And I know the Russo brothers said that's the only way he would come back. They would come back to direct another Marvel movie. And if that's the case, I can see them holding on to like Chris Evans, like we're going to keep you in our back pocket. Like we're going to keep some of these like MCU, like retired MCU characters. And like, we're going to need you like to come, because it could easily be like, oh, you know, all of a sudden you see Steve Rogers back as young Steve Rogers. Like what happened? And then like that whole, like what's going on. So, because you could say like, oh, I came back. Like I'm not the old Steve. I'm the Steve that was supposed to come back when I was supposed, like with Loki and the time. It's going to get very, I think, convoluted very fast with Loki.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the second he showed up as an old man at the end of Endgame.
Well, now they're saying the rumor, and one of the rumors I read about Winter Soldier is you're going to see Steve Rogers is going to be in this episode.
Oh.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That Chris Evans shot something in secret because you know, and it's just it would be that like Luke Skywalker moment in Mandalorian, being like meeting up with Sam after the fact, being like, you know, I always knew, like, I knew this was the path you were going to take. Like that whole like mentor being like, you did nothing wrong. You did what felt like, kind of reaffirming that the journey of the shield was the right journey.
So it's not going to be, you know, they're having overwhelming odds, and then you're going to see one motorcycle fly by and say,
on your left,
one person on a motorcycle.
Because you see his little handicap placard like in the background.
all I know is
riding on the back.
If Amelia Clark's going to be in a Secret Invasion show, then you know what? I mean, Disney, Marvel, do your thing, because Amelia Clark needs a fucking hit like nobody's business, man.
Oh, yeah, because Solo was such a. Well, that's the question I have: is what Amelia Clark are you going to get?
Oh, Terminator Genesis, please.
Oh God, no.
Stop it. Drop him. Leo, get rid of him. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Well, so the rumor is that she may be playing Spider-Woman.
Why? Stop. Just stop.
Wait, hold on. Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? Hold on. I don't understand that reaction. Why? Like, I swear to fucking God. Like, I don't get that.
Why? Guys, I know Spider-Man is the hot thing, and whoever wants to spray the web fluid everywhere about Spider-Man. There are so many better characters in the MCU that are underrated, haven't had an opportunity to be on the big screen.
I was just going to say, Spider-Woman was in Secret Wars.
And also, they retconned her origin pretty hardcore to make her origins tied directly into the idea of creating a super soldier. So considering everything that we're seeing with Falcon and Winter Soldier, not to mention going all the way back to the Incredible Hulk when we first saw Weapons Plus show up on screen, it would kind of make sense to dovetail both the idea of Secret Invasion and numerous Weapons Plus programs over the years, or more to the point, bootleg Weapons Plus programs, because that was it was hot. It was initially started by AIM, and then Hydra took it over, and that's how she was developed into like a genetically engineered super being.
I have to say that is one organization in Marvel. Leo, this is a transition, so get ready for it. That hasn't really got their due and kind of got the aim. Like, I mean, I know they got really like Avengers, the Marvel Avengers game. They're like the big antagonist, but like even in the comics, they're like this big entity. But it was kind of like, oh, AIM, Iron Man 3, bye. Like,
yeah, you know. I was saying that to my wife just the other day, and she has no idea. Dara the Tiny German does not know anything about any of this stuff. And when I was trying to explain it to her, she was just like, what? I was like, yeah, those guys would usually wear like yellow work suits with like little windows in the front. They were just kind of
They always
faceless
thought
drones.
beekeepers were AIM because the logo in WandaVision was like a
Yeah,
hexagon.
but like she just straight up she was like, no, I don't know anything you're saying right now. You mean like the fire soldiers that blew up in Iron Man 3? I'm like, yeah, that's what I fucking mean. Is the fire
Yeah,
soldiers in
exactly.
Iron Man
So
3 who
I
blew
mean,
up.
we're gonna see AIM in its true form in what show, Leo? Because you wanted to hit at it like 38 minutes ago.
Well, it was no, I was just saying M.O.D.O.K. M.O.D.O.K. I mean, so we're gonna have a lull in Marvel, but we're gonna get M.O.D.O.K. We're also gonna get I don't know why I'm not gonna watch it. That Star Wars show.
What Star Wars show?
The
The Last Batch or
the Bad Batch. I'm gonna watch
Bad Batch. Yeah.
The last
I'm gonna
trailer.
watch it. Like, what's the worst? It's Star Wars that people actually want to watch more of Star Wars. Like they like the animated stuff. Like I'm okay actually because it takes place after the Clone Wars. Again, fill in the gaps you already have in your timeline with new stories. Don't try to reinvent the wheel.
No, I get that. It's just that the last trailer, I was excited. The first trailer, I was excited.
But because I brought up the whole thing, there's going to be a kid. It's a Disney show. Like at the end of the day, it's a Disney show.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian is for us grown-up kids.
Yeah.
Those
shows are for like the real kids.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like you've convinced Leo. Whatever you say.
I will say one thing about M.O.D.O.K. I am excited for it, but the animation, I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago, but I'm surprised Adult Swim didn't pick it up. The animation is Robot Chicken-esque.
That is because Adult Swim and Cartoon Network are owned by Warner Media.
Yeah.
And Disney and Warner Media are not. Yeah.
On good terms.
Yeah. I know that. It's just the animation just reminds me of Robot Chicken for some reason.
Well, I think that's supposed to remind you of
yeah, for sure.
Chicken.
But
Yeah,
it's the same. Hulu has had other shows like that. There was that medieval one. That was, oh my god, so
yeah. I tried to. I got like 5 episodes into it, and I was like, I can't anymore.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It was like it was on Hulu.
Crossed
It
Swords.
was like Crossing Swords. It was like the little like peg wooden guys. It was like
that sounds weird.
It's weird, but yeah, give it a chance. It's so fucked up in the head that it's hilarious.
Yeah. No, but for me, like I said, I'm looking forward to. I love Patton Oswalt, and now that like John Hamm's Iron Man and
did I hear Nathan Fillion in the
yes, it's Wonder Man.
Yeah.
I
So,
caught that too. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, and so like I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. It looks really funny. It kind of reminds me of again. I'll do Robot Chicken. The Robot Chicken Star Wars stuff where the stormtrooper like is played by Donald Fallon, and he brings his kid to work, and it's like when they get the opening A New Hope, and Darth Vader's like, "Who's this little girl?" I was like, "Just bring your daughter to the workday." He's like, I'm her father. And it was like, okay, it's like he grabs the rebels, like, where are these plans? He brought his daughter to where they say, you won't tell me where the plans are, and breaks his neck, and he's like, it's like that reminds me of M.O.D.O.K. And that's what and I love Patton Oswalt. Like, I think he's like, I love his stand-up. I think he's unbelievably like funny. So I'm when they announced that and it was going to be like on Hulu, and I'm like, oh god.
And isn't Kevin Smith the showrunner for that or something like that? Isn't he involved?
I think he might have helped develop it.
Okay, all right.
I never know what Kevin Smith's in anymore. He's like 17 different things.
Tom Moore says, "Have you heard the rumor about Chris Pine playing Cyclops?"
Oh, give me unknowns.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good with that. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think that we should be seeing anybody. And this is not a knock on Chris Pine. I like Chris Pine, but I don't think we should be seeing anybody that old inhabiting those characters. I mean, if we're starting an MCU with mutants, with mutantdom, with X-Men, then it should be closer to
First Class
scenario. I really would love to see that play out with like Hank McCoy, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Angel thing going on. I really, but like accurate, and no dicking around. And you could do that for a little bit before you even bring, the all new X-Men into the fold, like Colossus and Storm and Wolverine. And also, that being said, if I hear one more fucking person fan cast a 56-year-old man as Wolverine in the MCU, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. I like Keanu Reeves. He is not going to play fucking Wolverine. It's just not going to happen.
If he was going to play anybody, he would have played Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And isn't that Oscar Isaac? Isn't he?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could see them. Wolverine does need to be an older person, but not super old. Not somebody in their 40s.
Unknown actor, and like this is where I want the casting, because their casting has been very, very good. They need to find some new talent to bring in, like even like Haley Steinfeld for playing Kate Bishop.
Yeah,
Seinfeld. That's awesome.
Steinfeld.
I don't know. Like, I like that casting, but again, it's very much, I feel like, fan casting, because remember, she was like rumored to be it. Same thing with like She-Hulk. Some of the people who was like rumored, like, for me, I'm just hopeful that when they get to that part of the MCU, that it's a very unknown cast. It's a new young cast. You're doing a lot of first class actors. Because you can't just drop in the Xavier Institute. Like, no.
If Hugh Jackman plays Wolverine one more time for the X-Men, then what's the fucking point
of Logan? That's the point of Logan.
Like, we saw the end of his story. The only way it works is if they do like a one of those multiverse things, and he shows up for 5 fucking seconds, and
like
that's
first class.
With what James said, with back to what we were talking about with the young casting. Remember when they were casting the new Spider-Man with Tom Holland, they had like 3 different candidates, and we didn't know these people. I think one of them was for Broadway, and one of them was doing this and doing that, and they submitted.
Tom Holland from Broadway, yeah.
Yeah, Marvel can do that with X-Men. They can just do how recruit these young people. Right?
I think they will. And don't forget too, they're still a big fan of pulling from their stable of child stars. I mean, that's how Zendaya ended up playing MJ in the Spider-Man movies. So they're doing like both of those things, like pulling from stage and lesser known people, and some of their own like talent that they have actually created, they homegrown even. I think we're going to see a good mix of probably some homegrown Disney actors and some fairly fresh faces, some newcomers that we might not be all that familiar with, because it'll help to lessen any baggage that would come along with adapting X-Men due to the Fox movies over the years. Yeah. I do think whoever it is that they cast all together, you are going to see a more mature Wolverine. I think because they're going to go, I think personally, because they would go with more of a first class-esque characterization of the X-Men, that you can have whomever is playing Wolverine in their like mid to late 30s. They don't have to be in their 40s, because the juxtaposition and contrast of that character to these kids would automatically put him in a more mature perception. So you don't have to worry too much about like grizzled or that much older, just by comparison. Like if you got some guys like, I'm Cyclops, I'm the leader of the X-Men, then you're like the guy who's 35 and is really willing to poke your own eyes out with a fucking cigar. Yeah, okay, maybe he does look pretty tough next to him, and it doesn't really matter if he's not graying at the temples that they have to dye and blah 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 blah. So long as they don't make him 6'5", I think we're golden.
Yeah, well, it needs somebody short would be nice,
And
you know,
Australian.
not Tom Cruise or anything, but is
Oh, you know, that's not a knock on Hugh Jackman. I'm just saying, like, you know, going completely opposite. I know Hugh Jackman's a lanky dude, but you can't argue with the fact that he played the hell out of that character.
Well, I also want to bring up the fact that I look at Iron Man. I mean, it was Robert Downey Jr. was an awesome actor in the 80s, and he fell out of, you know, the limelight, and they brought him back, and he was phenomenal. You know, if you're looking for somebody older for Wolverine, you know, not, you know, Hugh Jackman age, but, you know, somebody that, you know, is a little grizzled. You know, I don't know who they would pick, but, you know, it could be somebody that we enjoyed in like the 90s or early aughts. And
I swear to God, if they cast Scott Conn, I'm going to burn this motherfucker to the ground. But no, I think we'll be pleasantly surprised. I honestly, there's not been much that's come out of Disney MCU that casting wise that I've really disagreed with at all. You know, and if they apply their storytelling techniques, that will dictate who it is that they cast.
Yeah,
simple as that.
I know we are running on time, but just wanted to get your thoughts. And there's a couple other things we wanted to bring up as well. Is Shang-Chi. What did you guys think of the trailer?
For someone who knows nothing about that, I was intrigued.
Yeah,
same.
Yeah, I read very, very, very little of Shang-Chi when I was a kid, and that was only because of my neighbor up the street from me. He let me borrow comics, and he had all kinds of stuff from the Marvel 70s. I didn't really like it that much when I was a kid. I don't remember much, but when I saw this trailer, I got literal goosebumps. I was like, well, I guess I want to see this movie now. So there's that.
Yeah, it definitely, you know, flips all the switches. You know, it's I love kung fu movies, and you know, I love Marvel movies, and you know, I don't know that much about Shang-Chi as well. Even the I don't even know if that's the correct pronunciation, but
it's actually closer to Shang-Chi, but like because we're all I'm honestly, we're all a bunch of stupid Americans.
Yeah.
Saying Shang-Chi is probably the quickest, easiest way to get people to remember the nearest right pronunciation of it.
Yeah, but so that was developed in the 70s too because of the height of the Bruce Lee fandom, you know. And in the trailer we see Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch. He does that one spot as well. So yeah, I'm totally psyched for it as well.
I mean, and it was actually really good. And give it to Marvel, give it to Kevin Feige and his producers and this team that's literally taking some B-list, C-list Marvel characters, team ups. Like I remember when Guardians of the Galaxy was announced, I was like, "Who the fuck are these people?" Like,
there's a dog. What the fuck?
And it was very much like you're gonna take now, and then it was like, okay, well, She-Hulk's kind of like a niche character. Everybody's excited about that. Kate Bishop, everybody's like, because now they have a track record, which is great, and now they're writing the track record now, but as well as like these movies, you can still cut away and make individual movies, and they stand on the majority of them. Probably 95% of these movies can stand on their own and not be part of this unbelievable saga that, you know, this unbelievable run they've been having 11, 12 years now. But like, they're again casting, directing, writing, you know, vision, all that stuff has been in place, on point, into a point where they can bang out this stuff so quickly because everything's been in place. Well, they know that like Kevin Feige is going to oversee it, and if he and he's even said like he's not the loudest voice in the room. He sits there and listens. Like you hear that with writers, directors. Like when Kevin Feige walks into a room, people get quiet. But at the same time, he's going to be like, "Well, Leah, what do you think? Okay, what about you, Brandon? What about you, Steve? Okay."
Oh, I wish you would ask me what I think. That would be amazing.
But like you know, but that's what he does. And then like he'll be like, "Okay, well, let's see what happens." Like Leo, run with it. Let's see. Let kind of tell me what goes on, and we'll kind of see what happens. Like,
hold on, let me pull up Reddit.
Yeah, he's not as controlling as some other franchises can be, and that's always been the downfall of some of these movie franchises is that you have
for Kevin Feige's part too. I think he absorbed the experience and lessons that were put forth from what Ike Perlmutter did during Iron Man 2 and Thor: The Dark World. Ike Perlmutter and his people were notorious for just going in and turning everything into a giant commercial, and taking out any nuance, any subtlety. And that's why I am thoroughly, all these people screaming about, the Snyder Cut and all of that stuff for Justice League, which whether you liked it or not, that's fine. But what I really would love to see is the fucking Jon Favreau cut of Iron Man 2, because that movie is most certainly not at all what Jon Favreau and Mickey Rourke set out to make. You can tell when you watch that, like his performance is just fucking ripped apart.
The problem with that was a casualty of the writer's strike. That they couldn't edit the script, so a lot of that stuff had to be improvised.
I mean, maybe, but I've always I don't know. I've heard horror stories about it, and there's something.
No. They said it was a terrible production.
Yeah.
But the problem is, and it always goes back to the script was ripped apart, and due to the writer's strike, the original screenwriters wouldn't work on it because they were on strike.
Just in regards to that, and I know we got a couple things we want to talk about, but real quick, have you ever seen the movie Chef by Jon Favreau?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, did you know that whole scene between he and Dustin Hoffman right before the critic shows up is supposed to be an analogy of him and Ike Perlmutter fighting over Iron Man 2?
No, I didn't know that.
This is my restaurant and my ingredients, so you make the food I tell you to make. That whole thing was based on him being forced to work for somebody else who had all the money and had to listen to what they told him to do. And what happened? He put it in front of the critic, and the critic was like, yeah, I mean, this is kind of good, but it's the same kind of crap I've seen before. Where's the stuff that you were going to give me that wows me? Exactly like what he was going to do with Iron Man 2. It's rewatch just the scene if you get the chance, and knowing that, you'll be like, oh.
Iron Man 2 was the last Paramount movie. Marvel was bought by Disney shortly thereafterwards.
Yeah.
And then
absolutely.
The agreement in the purchase was that the Paramount logo would stay in front of Iron Man 1, 2, 3, and I think Marvel's Avengers.
Yep.
Made a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point in time, Kevin Feige was put in charge of Marvel Studios, and that's where you get the consistency after I mean, Thor: The Dark Thor. I still think Patty Jenkins would have been 1,000 times better in making that, but
maybe I don't know. I mean, seeing how she had more leeway to do Wonder Woman 1984, and the end result was lackluster. And maybe she shouldn't have been given the reign that she was looking for, and ultimately caused her to leave. So maybe it could have been worse than what we got. You never know. I mean,
I don't think you could have got worse than.
Oh, I think we absolutely could have gotten worse. Eric Kramer could have been recast as Thor.
No, I don't think so.
But speaking of people being cast or recast in certain things, cool news about some stuff happening in the Flash, huh?
Yeah, nice segue there. Keaton confirmed.
Well,
he
was already confirmed.
He was confirmed. He just wasn't in the media for a while. And
Yeah.
like his complaints were probably, I want more money. Like if I'm flying to England, I want more money.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to see the COVID situation before flying out there. And
I think both things are very understandable. Like I haven't inhabited this role since 1991, and people are sick all over the world. Fuck you, pay me.
I'm excited. I just wish he was playing like Thomas Wayne, and maybe he is. Like that would be like a really cool if you're doing Flashpoint.
Yeah, he would be Thomas Wayne. Yeah.
I mean, he's playing fucking Batman. Who the fuck cares? Let us 90s kids have our moment.
Yeah, you know, okay. I know what I'm gonna say is unpopular, but it's
Say it. Do it.
Going back and rewatching Batman '89.
It's fucking terrible.
Yes.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's awful. And
It's so
even as a
bad.
kid, I was 7 years old seeing that movie in the theater with my uncles. And I turned to my uncles, William and Jason, walking out of the theater, and I said, "Why was that guy Batman?" I remember it.
Mom, Batman.
Wait. 7 years old.
I was 7 years old in 1989. Sorry, bud.
Theo, you're the old man.
Yes, I know.
Retro has left the chat. Hi, everyone. For the record, Batman 1989 is probably one of my top 5 favorite films.
And that's great, man.
That's fine, dude.
But
It's
for
just
me,
a bad movie compared to what's come out since.
and also it's mistitled because the name of that movie should have been The Fucking Joker, because Batman is not the main character of that movie, and that's one of the things I never liked about it. Like, Batman's origin, and I know we've gotten plenty of fucking scenes of Thomas and Martha Wayne getting shot at this point, but Batman's origin in that movie is only told as it relates to Jack Napier, the Joker. It has nothing to do with Bruce Wayne or Batman. It's all about Jack Nicholson's character, in which, you know, what we know of Tim Burton, we have Batman, who's a dark, very one-dimensional character who just kind of grunts. And then you have the, you know, bright as fuck, larger than life Joker. Like, okay, yeah, we know who he's going to gravitate towards. But that being said,
but also no one knew, because it was Batman, because of the unsureness of comic book movies in general in Hollywood, no one was going to do this movie unless they pulled a Superman. What was the biggest star in the time in Superman? It was Marlon Brando, and they paid him what, $1 million for 3 days on set. So again, even in the title cards, Jack Nicholson is first.
You know, and I get that, but like, but you can still construct a story that can, you know, for the lack of a better term, satiate somebody's ego, and also serve to, you know, tell the story of the main character. We didn't get that in that movie, and you didn't get it in Batman Returns either. Fucking the closest you get to any sort of, I know this is fucking bonkers to say, but the closest you get to in any of those movies to kind of picking apart Bruce Wayne and his motivations for being Batman is Val Kilmer in Batman Forever, which I don't mind. I mean, I don't mind Val Kilmer. The other parts of the movie are kind of wonky, but I actually think in that point in time, if you compare it, Michael Keaton may have been like the better Batman, like in suit, just because there was no basis for comparison. But Val Kilmer was the better Bruce Wayne.
So going back to that time, you know, I remember thinking, wait a second, Mr. Mom is Batman, you know? And I know I was older at the time, and it's just but the only other Batman we really had was Adam West, you know?
But if you think about it, you can't just look at Mr. Mom as a Michael Keaton role for him.
No, I'm just saying at the time.
At the time, there were other movies he did before playing Batman.
Well, as a 7-year-old, my touchstone isn't that the guy that played Beetlejuice? Like that's
Beetlejuice was right around that time, but also there was another film that showed his like craziness, The Dream Team. Anyone remember that one? Also,
yes,
Tom, I agree. Prince doing the soundtrack for Batman 1989. Fantastic.
I'm saying it as, you know, when I went and thinking you know, hearing the movie was coming out, you know, Mr. Mom, that was, you know, everybody saw Mr. Mom, you know, it was, you know,
it was a big flick. Like at that point in time, he was known for being a comedic actor through and through. You had The Dream Team, you had Mr. Mom, you had Beetlejuice, You had Johnny Dangerously. You had Gung Ho. I think
Gung
those
Ho.
were in Night Shift with Henry Winkler. Though all those movies, like showcase just how funny he is. Like he is a great comedic actor, and I mean he is a good actor altogether. And we saw that at play later on when he was given meatier roles to inhabit. And that, you know, that's neither here nor there. But at the time, I do remember a lot of people like older than me, like my uncles. A couple of my uncles are only like 10 and 12 years older than me. So my brother and I, we did a lot of stuff with them. And I remember them and their friends being like, fucking Beetlejuice? For real? And when I went to, like I said, when I went to go see the movie with my other uncles, my uncle Wayne and stuff, I was like, what? Why was that guy Batman? Did it matter? And he was like, no, Brandon, it didn't.
Yeah, people may have been petitioning back then. People may have been outcrying and whining about it, but also people were stealing the posters. People would have been paying tickets to see Halloween 5 in the theater just to see the trailer for Batman and then walk out because the trailers was in high demand. The poster was in high demand. You even saw it in Times Square. So no matter which side of the coin you were on,
I mean, there was full blown. They literally were calling it Batmania. I mean, it was rampant.
At the time, we loved it because it was, you know, it was Batman on the big screen. You know, it wasn't Adam West. It wasn't a comedic Batman. It was something dark. And yeah, at the time, I remember watching it, you know, all summer long, just playing the tape over and over and over again. And it's just, but looking back at it and having, you know, seeing like Batman Begins with Bale, and then you know, like Batman versus Superman, which I still enjoy. You know, we have a badass Batman now, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do in the Batman.
Yeah, I can personally I agree. I will say I think Affleck was a much better pick for Batman than most of the internet thought when it was first announced. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and you know what? I can finally say this after this week. Thank God that was the fucking title, because it was only recently revealed that Zack Snyder wanted to name it Son of Sun and Night of Night.
What?
And oh, terrible. Yes, like SON of SUN and Night KNIGHT of Night NIGHT. It's horrible.
That is
I'm glad I didn't get the tickets to the New York City premiere for that one.
I think a lot of people are very glad. But that I read that and I was like, you know what? That is exactly the reason why you never let Zack Snyder have anything to do with story or character. Give him a camera and some stuff to draw on, and then let him shoot a movie. Never let him make decisions.
Give him a zombie movie. Tell him to stay away from superhero movies. That's it.
Oh no, I wouldn't even go so far as like stay away from superhero movies, because like Sucker Punch is terrible. I love how the movie looks and the soundtrack is amazing, but goddamn, I will watch it with mute on. It's a kitchen sink movie through and through. Anything he ever walked by and was like, oh, I think that's kind of cool, ended up in that movie, and it is not a good mixture.
I could not get through that movie. I shut it off midway.
I had to because I went to see it in the theater.
Wow, Leo, you agree on a Zack Snyder superhero movie you don't like? Wow. The world is the world ending?
Oh, stop it.
6 months?
Stop it.
6
Stop
days?
it.
6 years?
You know what is not ending? Ted Lasso. We're getting season 2.
Can't wait. I cannot wait. It's such a good show.
I know. Thank you so much for turning me on to that, James. It is. I agree. It is phenomenal. Everybody needs to watch that.
I started rewatching the first season. It's just so freaking good.
Yeah.
And you see, like, I was just at the episode where his family comes out. Like, that whole, it's just, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so sad. It's such, Jason Sudeikis is just like such a good actor in it, too.
Yeah. You know, Apple, they've had some really good shows, which is, surprising.
They've
It's
hit and miss. I mean,
yeah,
when they've hit, they've hit. When they've missed, they've missed.
exactly.
Like they don't have a lot of gray area.
Yeah,
with
they
their
don't have a
shows.
lot of shows to choose from either.
I haven't watched For Mankind. I heard it's supposed to be like really good.
Yeah, that I need to watch that. Did you watch Morning Show?
No, again, I heard that was something that like I heard Stephen Carell was like really good in it.
Yeah,
But
Morning
for
Show
me, it
is
was
really.
a Ted Lasso because I like Sudeikis and the trailer got me hooked.
Yeah.
I had like 3 years of like free Apple TV because I bought like 3 phones in the last like year. So every time you buy a new Apple product, you get a year of Apple TV.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so like Jen has a new phone, that's a year. I have my phone from work, that's a year. And then they extended it 6 months on top of that for free. I was like, okay. And then I got my new phone, and that was another year. I'm like, I'm never paying for Apple TV, like ever.
Did you recently get another iPhone?
I mean, I got it a couple months ago. I got the Pro 12.
Okay. Well, no, the reason why I'm asking is I'm thinking about giving up the Pixel and going to Apple.
Jen went from the Pixel to an iPhone, and she said she's not a big tech person, but she likes it over the Pixel.
Yeah.
I have the iPhone, the new iPhone. It's really, really good. So
yeah, I'm just it's my Pixel is a couple years old.
You know who to talk to whenever he comes back around.
I know.
You know what else is phenomenal? After people were petitioning and begging, LeVar Burton is going to be a guest host on Jeopardy.
Yeah, I saw that too. It's going to be awesome.
I'm just give me a permanent host. Like
I want a permanent host too, but it's better than you're going to be playing a guest host after Joe Buck, and I think it's going to be welcoming fans back because people really don't want to see. They tune out Joe Buck in football, and I'm sure as hell they're going to tune out Joe Buck in Jeopardy. I'm glad LeVar Burton on Jeopardy, people are going to be viewing that. Millions of people are going to be viewing that. I'm really excited to see.
Also, having a rotating roster of guest hosts come through, it's a really smart way to wean the American public off of Alex Trebek having been the host for so long. There's a few generations of people who literally have only ever known Alex Trebek as the host for Jeopardy, and if you said the name Art Fleming to them, they would have no idea what the fuck you were babbling about.
Yep.
So this is the right move for them, I think. LeVar Burton?
No, Bob Barker.
Bob Barker. I'm sorry.
Price Right. Drew Carey's been doing it for 15 years.
Yeah, but the difference between Drew Carey taking it over is that Bob Barker retired, and it wasn't like a tragic loss for the country. That's how it was seen when Alex Trebek passed. Yeah, but he was the host of an American institution.
Yeah. Same with Alex Trebek. He was the host of an American institution, and now a bunch of people have been filling his shoes. Some good, some shitty. Joe Buck, but LeVar Burton. It's going to be great. Hopefully, he becomes permanent.
Probably not. I don't think he would.
They're going to get somebody young. They're going to get somebody in there
because they want someone to do the same thing Trebek did.
Well, they should just give it to what's the guy that won all that money?
Ken Jennings.
No, he was on. He was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was also some issues with some tweets of his a while back.
Gotcha.
Also, some people felt like he cheated or Jeopardy let him win.
Really?
I didn't know about that.
That the streak was the producers let the streak go on longer than it needed to go because at that time ratings were low.
By giving him the answers.
Have the Greg
or
Kim
the questions.
Have the Greg Kim Band be permanent hosts. They did a song called Jeopardy. No, that was the breakup song. I'm thinking of Weird Al. My bad.
Yeah, but they're not gonna pick a.
Got it.
I did. Wonderful.
Okay. On that note. Tom says, I would love to see Wink Martindale or Bob Eubanks come out of retirement, guest host Jeopardy. The guest host, I mean, it's a good way for them to, to interview people, so whoever gets the highest ratings wins.
Basically.
So it'll probably be Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, there can be only one.
Well, on that note, I want to thank everybody for watching, and definitely go join the Powers Combined group. I got the information in the show notes, and we'll start with Brandon. Besides your group, where do you like fans interacting with you?
You can find me on Instagram. My name is at this Brandon has powers, and on Twitter, which is at Brandon's Powers. Very easy to remember both of them. Just come on by, drop me a line.
Cool beans. Steven.
You can follow Super Retro Throwback Reviews on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our primary podcast, Super Retro Throwback Reviews. The audio files comes out every Monday. CSI The Vegas Files comes out every Friday. You can find both shows on the Dorkening Podcast Network. I'm here every Wednesday on the Dorkening Podcast Network. We have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Super Retro Podcast. We're going to be starting to do some YouTube videos again. We did a visit to the movie's pop-up shop and pop-up restaurant, in Boston last week. Check that out. We'll be testing the movie's beer on next week's show. So definitely check it out, give it a listen. You know the drill.
Okay, James.
You can find me here on the Dorkening Podcast Network every Wednesday, as well as my show, It's Go Time with Jay and James. We dropped an episode today talking about Patriots Day and history of Patriots Day, the Red Sox, the marathon, the 2013 bombing, all that stuff. Also, we go a little bit deeper in about like history and documenting history and how there's been a lot of history and the times the majority of us have been alive, and how it's a good idea to us to sit down and, these podcasts are a great way to do it, just to kind of tell our story, tell our interpretation of events, just for future generations. So give it a listen. That dropped. And then actually the week before then, my co-host Jay did a solo show as I was on vacation and talking about PKU. It's about 35 minutes long. It's a very interesting conversation about it. PKU is a disease in which the body can't metabolize protein, and that's something that he's dealt with his whole life. So it's kind of a nice little deep dive into it. So definitely check that out. It's Go Time with Jay and James. I believe it's in the show notes, hopefully.
It is.
But also, like I said, give a shout out to people who aren't here. Is Yo-Yo, Boy Meets Phone. Check him out. Also, Alex Hoy, and check out his artwork. I know he's been absent, but I know he wants to get back sooner than later. So definitely check out those two other hosts and their stuff out there. So,
Totally. Yeah, and I believe I have all their information in the show notes as well. And for me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which, but more importantly, follow these awesome people. And for me, I'm doing shows Monday through Wednesday, 4 shows a week, which is insane. So Monday, Tuesday, and then 2 shows on Wednesday here on the Dorkening Podcast Network, which we have over 30 shows on the network. A lot of awesome stuff by a lot of awesome people. And with that, we will catch you guys later.